We have another airplane missing. Unbelievable. It's an AirAsia flight, and what's also unbelievable that it is based out of Malaysia. Unreal. Disappeared over the Java Sea. Now let me give you some of what we know about it so far. Associated Press explains, wary of bad weather, one of the pilots had asked to raise the plane's altitude just before it vanished, but was not allowed because another aircraft was in the way. Now, they never sent a distress signal, but 4 minutes after they had sent their last request, they lost contact with them and they went off the radar and have not been seen since. Now, the head of the rescue operation in Indonesia explains that it's probably not good news. He says, based on the coordinates that we know, the evaluation would be that any estimated crash position is in the sea, and that the hypothesis is that the plane is at the bottom of the sea. So it is horrible news, obviously. There was 155 passengers on that plane, including 16 children and 1 infant. And of course, every time you think about the families on that plane, let alone anybody, the terror must have been unreal. So now, let's talk about more aspects of this story. Associated Press again explains, but while authorities are pessimistic about the plane's fate, it is likely that the search will not be nearly as perplexing as the one for Flight 370, that's the other Malaysian missing airline. That plane is believed to have been deliberately diverted by someone on board to a remote area of the Indian Ocean where the water is kilometers deep. Flight 8501 vanished over a heavily traveled sea that is about 30 meters deep on average, with no sign of foul play. So it is likely that they had bad weather, ran into trouble, they couldn't divert their path, and then probably a crash ensued. And now, of course, everybody's worried, oh my God, if we go on a plane, are we going to be in real danger here? And the answer to that is largely no. And so let me give you important context here. So first, a graph is put together by a Reddit user taking information from the Aviation Safety Network. And as he puts it here, as you can see for the numbers yourself, and you can analyze this without him, but he just did a great job with the graph here. The line, the trajectory is downward in terms of the number of crashes and the fatalities involved in those crashes. In fact, Haro Ranter, who is the founder and director of the Safety Network, says, remarkably, 2014 has the lowest number of passenger flight accidents in modern aviation history. Now, what he's referring to there is the number of accidents. Now, the fatalities are higher than they were in 2013 simply because of those huge 2 crashes, the missing Malaysian airline flight from earlier and now AirAsia. If you take those numbers out, that's about actually 2/3 of the fatalities in just those 2 crashes. And by the way, the other Malaysian flight that was shot over Ukraine is not counted because it's not an accident. That was shot down. So the plane didn't crash because of mechanical issues, pilot issues, or anything along those lines. That's a separate number, okay? Now, let me give you further context. Last year was, according to the Aviation Safety Network, the safest ever in terms of airline crash fatalities, with only 265 casualties out of roughly 31 million flights throughout the world, compared to a 10-year average of 720 annually. That's the fewest number of fatalities on record. It was also the second safest year in terms of deadly plane crashes, 29 in 2013 compared to 32 on average. So as you turn on CNN and some other networks, you might get a sense of panic here. Oh my God, are the skies safe? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. We had the lowest number of fatalities in 2013, and we had the lowest number of crashes in 2014. Now, obviously, it depends on the size of the planes. That determines the fatalities in those instances. Now, to give you more perspective, let's compare that to the number of fatalities in cars. Well, in 2013, there were 1.24 million road traffic deaths. Okay, so in that same year, 265 people died on airplanes, 1.24 million people died in cars. Now, more people also use cars, you have to take that into account as well, but overall, planes are relatively very safe compared to cars. So understand that even as we are horrified by what happened here, in this particular incident. Now, I'm not done giving you perspective. That's what we do on the show. So how often are these planes missing? Is this a relatively new phenomenon? Is it the first time we're all seeing it worldwide, tracking it minute by minute? Or is this something that used to always happen and we just started paying attention to it in the new world of 24/7 media? Well, that's what I was wondering, and Bloomberg apparently looked into it as well, and they report some 83 aircraft have been declared missing since 1948, according to data compiled, again, by the Aviation Safety Network. This list includes planes capable of carrying more than 14 passengers and where no trace, bodies, or debris has ever been found. Well, that averages out to 1.2 plane disappearances per year, okay? So we had 2 plane disappearances this year, obviously a little bit above the average, but not wildly above the average. As you can see here, a little over 1 plane disappears every year since 1948, never to be found again. And by the way, if you look at the map of where they disappear, it is usually in the ocean, where it's very, very hard to find them, or oftentimes on top of mountains, where it's also very, very hard to find them. That's why they have, quote unquote, disappeared. Because the reality is they very, 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 very likely crashed and we just couldn't find the debris.